When I denied Karen access to my private pool, I didn't even know who she was. 6 months later, I knew her full name, her legal record, and the trail of financial fraud she'd been hiding behind a stack of HOA paperwork. Wild right. That transformation from quiet homeowner to accidental neighborhood detective all started because Karen Douglas made one crucial mistake. She tried to weaponize authority against someone who used to build it for a living. Let me set the scene for you. Picture it 6 a.m. Thursday, the kind of morning where the sun's barely up and even the birds look half awake. I'm standing in my doorway, robe hanging, crooked coffee steaming in my hand, staring at two confused police officers and one very satisfied woman in blindingly white tennis gear. The flashing lights bounce off my pool behind her, turning calm blue into strobing red, and the air is thick with the smell of burnt coffee and what I'd later recognize as weapon-grade vanilla perfume. Should have known right then this wasn't about pool access, it was about control. One cop looks at the other and says, "Ma'am, you said he denied you community privileges." Karen crosses her arms. All the confidence of a TV judge. That's right. He's violating the HOA's shared amenity clause. I'm just trying to keep things fair. Fair. That word would haunt her. What she called fairness, I'd soon call fraud. Right there watching her talk like she owned the block, I didn't realize I was about to spend half a year unraveling a scheme that would blow our neighborhood sky high. I thought I was just protecting my pool. Didn't know I was about to unmask a criminal. So what would you do if your HOA, Karen, called the cops on you? Honestly, drop your worst HOA story below. Before we get to the good part, though, tell me where you're watching from. I gotta know how far Karenitis travels. Back to the beginning. When I bought the house on Brookstone Drive, I wasn't chasing luxury. I was chasing quiet. After losing my wife, Anna, the world turned into this echo chamber where every little sound reminded me of her spoon in the coffee, the creaky hallway, her soft humming while gardening. After she passed, silence didn't soothe me, it swallowed me whole. So when I found a modern home on the edge of Willow Creek Estates with a view of the pool and sky that looked like peace itself, I thought maybe here I'll find quiet that heals instead of hurts. See, I'd spent 20 years in construction law. That meant contracts, audits, sniffing out fraud, hiding in blueprints or the fine print. I figured retirement would be the opposite of all that sunlight grass clippings and as few arguments as possible. I moved in that March. The place seemed straight out of a catalog, identical houses with symmetrical hedges, driveways so clean they squeaked, flower beds organized like a military parade. The mailboxes even matched every silver post like a little soldier at attention. First morning, I'm on my back porch, coffee in hand, watching sunlight dance across the community pool. The sprinklers click on, birds sing like they're on payroll. And for the first time in ages, my shoulders drop. That's when I spot her. Woman in tennis whites binder under her arm, a cloud of vanilla perfume you could probably see from space. She stops at every driveway, scribbles notes, snaps photos. At first, I think realtor doing rounds. Turns out I wasn't far off. That's Karen Douglas, self-appointed HOA vice president, local real estate celebrity, gatekeeper of all things proper. She had that politician's smile, big and empty. You could feel her sizing you up the minute you looked her way. When she noticed me, she waved like she was running for office. "Welcome to Willow Creek. I'm Karen. If you need anything, we have rules for it. Rules for everything." Should have been the first red flag. I smiled, nodded, and went inside. But that week, I noticed how folks acted when she was near. Neighbors watering lawns would shut off their hoses when her SUV rolled by. One lady, pruning her roses, straight up ducked into her garage when Karen slowed down. At first, I thought it was just a weird coincidence. Then I saw the pattern. People smiled, they waved, but nobody lingered like kids waiting for the principal to pass by. My first HOA meeting explained a lot. Held in the clubhouse air freshener thick enough to clear your sinuses. Folding chairs lined up with military precision. Karen stood front and center, binder in hand, ready to deliver judgment. All her talk was about protecting property values and community standards, nice words with an ugly undercurrent. Every sentence started with "we" but ended with "you must." When I introduced myself, she flipped through her binder, eyes gleaming. "Ah, yes, Lot 19. That's the one with the elevated deck and private pool, technically adjacent to community property, right?" Her voice was sweet, but her stare was sharp, already staking a claim. I nodded. not realizing that tiny blue rectangle would become ground zero for a full-blown war. The weeks ticked by, coffee porch lawn work, learning the neighborhood's rhythm. Everything seemed perfect, maybe too perfect. Even the breeze felt scheduled. But every perfection needs a cop and every rule needs an enforcer. Karen was everywhere, inspecting Flower Heights, lecturing kids at the pool gate, knocking on doors with friendly reminders about trash can placement. People obeyed, not because they agreed, but because resistance meant more drama. I kept my head down. Decades of legal brawls will do that to you. I just wanted quiet mornings, not more conflict. But peace in Willow Creek, it came with footnotes. Every favor was a subtle power play. Every smile a little test. If Karen didn't approve, it didn't last. One night I stood by the pool fence watching the water catch the last bit of sun, thinking Anna would have loved this. Then I saw Karen clipboard under her arm staring me down, already adding to her mental notes. That was when I felt it, that itch of paperwork following me even here. I didn't escape red tape. I just moved somewhere it ruled. Then came the day everything cracked. Early summer sun, out air heavy with the promise of lemonade and naps. I'd just finished cleaning the pool, Anna's last project before she got sick. She'd wanted a backyard oasis. She never got to swim in it, but every time the sun hit that water, I felt her close by. I'm setting down a glass of iced tea when I hear those famous heels clicking. That vanilla perfume arrives first, then Karen visor, binder phone, already recording. Good afternoon, Dave. Beautiful day for a swim, isn't it? Her hand on my gate, eyes scanning my pool like it's on Zillow. The HOAs received inquiries about this space. Since your property backs into community rec areas, residents want to know when the pool will be available for shared use. I almost laughed. It won't be, I said. It's private. Built as part of my lot before the HOA. Deed says so. Her smile went tight. I think you're mistaken. Section 3C says any recreational feature adjacent to community space can fall under the shared use clause. I shrugged. Only for stuff built with HOA money. Mine wasn't. Silence thick as pudding. Sprinklers ticking in the distance. Well, she finally says the board will have to clarify. We wouldn't want anyone thinking they're above community standards. I'm not above anything, I replied. I just own what I paid for. She looks to the houses across the street. Curtains twitch. Mr. Patel and the Johnsons suddenly check their mailboxes. And Karen shifts to performance mode. Mr. Douglas, the HOA, encourages cooperation. It's unfortunate when residents refuse to participate in shared amenities. It creates division. Neighbors freeze. With respect, I said what creates division is rewriting ownership because it's inconvenient. She fakes concern. Some people get defensive after a loss. That stung. She brought up Anna, weaponizing sympathy. But I kept my cool. I'm managing fine, I said. And this conversation's over. That night the group chat blew up. Screenshots of bylaws, blurry pool pics, buzzwords like community fairness. The next morning, an official notice from Karen Douglas, immediate discussion, requested regarding improper restriction of amenities. No board signature, just hers. I knew better than to ignore it. Silence is consent in HOA land. Karen was testing control and she had an audience. Soon enough, violation notices started raining down, lawn edging off by 2 inches, grill too close to fence, guests exceeding limits. Friendly clipboard volunteers started measuring things while making small talk. The message was always the same: comply or else. Neighbors started acting different. Garage doors shut when I walked by. The group chat, once full of dog photos, now filled with veiled digs. We need harmony. Let's not rock the boat. The boat had already been rocked. People picked safety over truth. I didn't panic, that's what bullies want. Instead, I did what I do best, documented everything. Cameras went up. Small legal ones at the property line. Every mailbox slip, every face-to-face, every photo archived, time-stamped. Evidence loves consistency, I always say. HOA boards must issue written notice before enforcing penalties. No written notice. They're powerless until they follow procedure. Paperwork gives them power, but it can also take it away. My secret weapon turned out to be Miguel, my late wife's nephew, a tech whiz with a knack for organization. He installed a tiny camera in a flower pot. When the volunteer measured my hedge, we got it all on tape. But here's where the twist comes in. Maria Santos, HOA treasurer, quiet as a whisper, shows up with a stack of contracts. Dave, she says, these numbers don't add up. We sit at my kitchen table with piles of invoices and a spreadsheet Maria's been losing sleep over. Pool repairs 3 times higher than any local bid. Landscaping invoices, padded vendor addresses mismatched. And every problem resident seemed to get a fresh violation right after a new payment cleared. Maria's hands shook as she pointed out the patterns. I started tracking this months ago, she said, but I was scared to say anything. It clicked. Every act of bullying matched a sketchy transaction. The harassment wasn't random. It was protection money disguised as policy. We started fighting back. Every notice got a polite request for the exact bylaw clause, always copying the board president. Every meeting request was in public, not private. Each of Karen's moves I countered with more documentation. Soon, anonymous neighbors began dropping off photos and tips. Turns out I wasn't the only target. Fear ran deep, but so did quiet resistance. The boring grind of evidence collecting slowly built into something unstoppable. I dug through the HOA's charter and found it riddled with contradictions, rules copied and pasted, unsigned amendments, whole paragraphs referencing companies that no longer existed. Page 6 contradicted page 9, and the shared use clause. It only covered amenities built after the HOA formed. My pool had been there 3 years before the merger. I found the original deed stamped and notarized. Game over. But I didn't stop there. Deep in the city's online records, I found a single scanned amendment: properties developed prior to Willow Creek Association's charter integration shall remain privately governed under original recorded deeds. Karen's entire argument, her power was a mirage. So I built my binder: contracts, timestamps, legal precedents, every false complaint. If you love paperwork, Karen, I thought I'll bury you in it. For the first time since Anna passed, my nights weren't filled with grief, but with purpose. That purpose turned my loss into fuel. And then came round 2, same hour, same scene, police lights again. Karen, looking smug, had called the cops again, this time alleging safety hazards and aggressive behavior. I opened the door, calm, collected. Officers, would you like to see some documentation? I handed them the folder labeled prior false reports. They flipped through Karen's history of complaints and the footage Miguel had recorded. Neighbors started to gather phones out, finally unafraid. Miguel, phone in hand, recorded everything. Karen tried to play her greatest hits. He's provoking me, turning people against the HOA. The younger officer looked her in the eye. Ma'am, are you aware that filing false reports carries criminal liability? Karen sputtered. But it was over. Her control had evaporated, replaced by the collective gaze of a neighborhood that had stopped being scared. After that, it was a domino effect. Maria, the treasurer, brought the evidence: scanned checks, double-billed vendors, kickbacks funneled through Karen's realty firm. Jim, the HOA president, brought meeting minutes, missing votes, contracts signed without quorum. Miguel cataloged every document, every payment, every thread. We called a meeting: community hall, packed, local news camera blinking, county detective present. Maria took the mic. There are $700,000 in unaccounted funds, she said, holding up the receipts. I clicked through slides showing fake snow removal contracts, developer kickbacks, commissions paid to Karen's firm days after each invoice cleared. Karen tried to shout us down, but the crowd wasn't buying it. The detective stepped forward, badge gleaming. Based on this evidence, Ms. Douglas, you're under investigation for fraud and embezzlement. That was it. Her empire of paper crumbled under the weight of sunlight. The whole room applauded, not for me, but for truth. In the weeks that followed, Karen resigned, indicted, forced to watch her own face on the evening news under the word fraud. The neighborhood started to breathe again. The first meeting of the new HOA was just neighbors' chairs in a circle. Transparency, the new law of the land. Dues forgiven, money returned, pool repairs funded. And a scholarship started in Anna's name for local students in engineering. The night the pool reopened, everyone showed up. String lights, music, laughter echoing into the night. People who'd hidden behind curtains months before now stood side by side, sharing food and stories. The new memorial plaque glimmered beside the water. She tried to control the water. In the end, it washed her empire away. And that's the lesson, if you ask me. Not some sappy moral, just a simple truth I learned the hard way. Justice isn't always a courtroom drama. Sometimes it's a quiet neighborhood deciding not to be scared anymore. Power built on fear is always temporary because sunlight will always find a crack. So now I sit on my porch, coffee in hand, pool, sparkling neighbors laughing, thinking of Anna. The rules didn't change people. People changed the rules. In community, real community isn't enforced. It's built slowly out of trust and second chances. If you ever find yourself fighting control disguised as community, don't give up. The fine print hides a lot, but it can set you free. So let me ask you, where's the line between keeping order and abusing power? When does protection become control? Drop your stories and thoughts below, because justice doesn't end when one person falls. It starts when people start talking. And hey, if you've ever tangled with a Karen or outlasted an unfair system, I want to hear about it. Share your stories. Let's see just how far sunlight can reach.